Good evening and welcome to a specially extended edition of The Weekly, where your votes have been counted, verified and declared, and this week 129 new MSPs will enter the Parliament building behind me and begin the work of governing in Scotland. Coming up tonight, The Weekly have an exclusive analysis of the results. We reveal the nationalist camp have really badly shot themselves in the foot and undermined their own cause. The not yet declared party have suffered heavy defeats, with some senior members of the party now pressuring its leadership to step down. And in England, constitutional crisis, where the Queen has been accused of breaking electoral law. Tuesday, 11th May. From Holyrood in Edinburgh, this is The Weekly Election 2021 with Jeremy Ball. Welcome to the epicentre of Scottish politics and what has been the least dramatic election in the 22-year history of devolution. The 6 weeks of campaigning was consistently overshadowed, firstly with the reopening of society after a third national coronavirus lockdown, and then with the death of the Duke of Edinburgh. In a real sense, this was a COVID election, and nobody, not even the opposition, wanted a change of government at such a critical point. The Conservatives ran on a single issue, namely by bursting into literal tears at the thought of voting again in an independent referendum. Like entitled brats, they kicked up a fuss. While they finished second overall, the tactical voting patterns from the Unionist side is all they have to get them to where they got to. So, say they're in government with that campaign, well, what the fuck would they actually do? Labour had a change of leader just weeks before the campaign began and have been in constant disarray since the EU referendum 5 years ago. Its UK leader has been accused of being bland. In fact, so bland that the world's celebrity chefs have agreed he's beyond the point of no return, and no amount of spice can invigorate any spirit of leadership. But can Scottish Labour be more hopeful with Anna Sarwar at the helm? The third Unionist party, the Lib Dems, seem to have been scuttling around unnoticed. Maybe they're playing a long game of hide and seek. If so, well, they've done too well and nobody can find them anymore. Maybe they ought to try a different playground game next time and become a more assertive player in the political field. It's getting increasingly difficult to fault or satirise the Green Party. Slowly but surely they're climbing toward the top of regional politics, having made big gains in both England and Scotland. Some even suggest they're capable of giving Boris Johnson a run for his money. But it is the SNP who have all the work to do for the next 5 years, and our exclusive analysis for The Weekly shows that they've really made it harder for themselves than it needed it to be. The party needed to radically increase its share of seats in Holyrood to make a political statement that the issue of independence isn't going anywhere. But a blunder of a move in their campaign strategy have left them vulnerable to attack from all sides. Let's have a look at the state of the parties. As you can see on the screen, the SNP wound up with 64 seats, one short of an outright majority. The Tories are in second with 31, Labour behind them on 22, the Greens in fourth with 8, and Lib Dems losing their list seat to leave them with 4. But say everyone who gave their Peach Regional list vote to the SNP, if they went instead to a different party, say the Scottish Greens, this is the new result, and it is dramatic. The SNP would lose their 2 list seats to wind up with 62. Still a very respectable score, but the Greens would take seats from almost all sides, especially at the expense of Labour and the Tories. They'd have 35 seats and would have formed a pro-independence coalition with a huge 65-seat majority. I'm joined with our political editor, Me. Me, just how badly a blunder was this both vote strategy from the SNP? It was a big tactical blunder, Me, especially when the result 5 years ago was so similar and the same warning signs had been flashing long before this election cycle began. Ultimately, it cost the pro-independence camp some 25 seats, with 14 of them going to their sworn enemies, the Conservatives, as a direct result of this. So, what will be happening now? Well, there's already been some reaction to this. Sexual scumbag Alex Salmond, who ran in the lists for his Alaba party, basically said, "I told you so," even though they didn't succeed in gaining any seats at all or affecting the outcome of the election in a significant fashion. But I do suspect there'll be some internal meetings going on right now just on how next to proceed. Do you think Nicola Sturgeon's place as First Minister is in any danger? You'd think that such an awful blunder like this would mean calls to resign would be flooding in, especially when you deny your would-be coalition partner so many seats. But from what I've heard, the party are being really quite nonchalant about the situation. And this independence referendum that's floating around again, do you think it'll happen? You know, maybe it will, but right now all it would be is for the purposes of pissing off the Tories, for no other reason than they think they can. Me, thank you. Can we meet around the corner after the programme? Why? I want to practice kissing. Okay. The not yet declared party have suffered big losses in this election and now find themselves at the precipice of extinction. They've lost all of their seats they held after dissolution, and questions are now being asked of their electoral viability. I have this report. The not yet declared party were in buoyant mood as Big Ben struck 10 and election night officially begun. Early results looked positive, and by 8 o'clock on Friday morning they were on track to win a thumping victory. But then it started going wrong. As results came in, the projected seat total dwindled. They were down 48 seats by the end of the day, and Saturday was even worse, losing all of the 81 seats left to contest. Only the Alba Party, Scottish Family Party and All for Unity did worse. And now the party's future, whose main goal is to introduce a reopen nominations option in future elections, is in serious doubt. Pressure is increasing tonight on the party's anonymous leader to resign, with the electorate comprehensively rejecting its laissez-faire approach to politics. Whatever next, the party has a mountain to climb if it wants to gain any support in 2026. Jeremy Barr for The Weekly, Edinburgh. Royal news now, and the Queen has found herself embroiled in a constitutional crisis over social media messages she sent on election day, wishing a listed candidate a happy birthday. UKIP put Archie Mountbatten Windsor as a local council candidate in Hertfordshire, a seat the 2-year-old failed to win on the occasion of his birthday. The party had hoped to ride the tide of royal popularity to gain seats, but their vote never materialised. The Electoral Commission is now investigating the intervention by the monarch, who is, by law, not allowed to vote or speak in favour of any political candidate. The story will fuel the flames of republicanism, with latest polls showing just 68% of Brits are in favour of the monarchy, down from its peak of 79% a few weeks ago. Let's have a look at the weather picture now. These are live views coming into us from South Queensferry. If you have a window available, you can see the live picture yourself by looking out from it. As for the forecast, it'll probably rain at some point and it'll get colder when the sun goes. Now, as a treat for anyone surviving this far into the programme, we leave you with images from the animal world as a reminder that pure cuteness is still with us. Good night. One take, one take, one take, one take, one take.